Welcome to Let's Learn. In this tutorial, we are going to be looking at the following topics. So, one, how to adjust column width and row height, freezing column and rows, how to delete columns, rows of cells, how to hide columns or rows, how to insert sheets, rows, columns, charts, pivot tables, images. We're going also to look at formulas, Vlookup, COUNTIF, split, CONCATENATE, SUMIF, sum, count, count A or counter, average, etc. Then we're also going to look at a few tools such as spelling checker or autocomplete. So at the end of it all, you should see, or you should be able to create such a table. So you can see this table here. I'm just going to explain a few things. You can see we've merged some of the cells here to create one big cell. We've inserted images. I'm using padlock images since we can't use images of real people, but these are images we've inserted here. You can see we've also merged some cells here to form one called which we've called student name. Then also when you look at some of the formulas we've done, the manipulation we've done on data is we've used subtraction to get the balance of the fees that the student is supposed to pay. For example, this one that is called Louis has only paid 1,500, so the balance is this. We're going to cover that. Then we've looked at the sum function here, where we are totaling the balance, paid fees, and fees per term. Then you can also see when we've hidden some columns. I can just unhide once more. So let me show you. So that's how we hide and unhide cells. Columns are going to look at that. This column was hidden, but we've unhidden it. Then we've split the names based on the delimiter, which is the space here. You can see some of the names have been split into 3, some 2, just depending on the how many words the name has. Then when you look at this column here, we've combined the name and the course. So we've used a function called CONCATENATE, which we're going to look at. Then down here we have a summary, which is basically we've used count A to get how many students are supposed to be sent home. We've used named ranges. Then we've we've done total based on our condition. We've also done count, just counting the number of students, total number of students. Then we've done average, paid fee. Here we've inserted a chart. We're going to see how we can insert this chart, and this chart basically tells us, gives us visibility on the fee that the students have paid. So basically you can see the highest is Terry, having paid 19,000 Kenyan shillings, and the lowest is Louis, paying around 2,000. Then when you look at this other sheet we have here, by the way, these are the worksheets. So we have the student information worksheet, residence, and payment details. So when you go to residence, you can see that this is a table that almost has some of the information which is contained on this table, but only one column is different, which is the city. So we have the admission number, city, and the student name. So basically, initially this table had only 2 columns. Then now basically we were vlooking or trying to find the student name from the other table, because these tables can be linked using the primary key, which is the admission number, which is the common unique identifier. You can see it's common between these 2 tables. That's what I mean by common. But again, it's unique in that it's not repeated across the records. So basically by the end of this tutorial, you should be able to create such a table. So over to the first topic, and if you can remember, just to recap, for those who are joining the first time or trying to follow up, we said that for you to access Google Sheets, you open your browser and go over to this icon here and look for Google Sheets. So that's how we find Google Sheets. For those who are following from the other tutorial, it's clear that we left at this point. So we want to start with the first topic, as mentioned, which is adjusting column width and row height. So basically, when you say column width, we're talking about this distance between the start of the column and the end. So you can see in column C, for example, we have some words or that have been truncated per se, or have been hidden. So we want to see that. How we can do that is you go point your cursor to the boundary between the column that you want to expand and the next column. When it changes to a double headed arrow, you just click and drag across this way, and that's basically how we extend the column. So you can do that way. I'm going to undo so that I show you the other way. The other way, we will just be coming here and double clicking like that. Then the computer will adjust based on the width that is required. Then I'm going very quickly on how to adjust the row height. So when you say row height, what do you mean? So for those who followed from the first topic, if you've not been following, please go back and look at the first topic where we were looking at a cell, a row, and a column, defining that. So this is a row, and you can see again some of the information has been hidden. So we want to see all that, and how we do that is basically just using the same concept, going to the boundary and clicking and dragging. As simple as that. Or if you want to be automated, you just go there and double click. So that's it. That's how we adjust row height and column width. Then I've just remembered, following from the past the last tutorial, we were supposed to cover formatting, so I'm just going to mention very quickly. So you can see this data here is fees, and fees is in currency. So we want to format this data so that it's not looking like numbers. Someone may not understand what we're saying here. So how we do that is highlighting. For those who don't know how to highlight, please look at the first tutorial, and you'll know, you'll see how we do that. Then going to currency, going to the format toolbar, then looking for currency. But you can see the currency that is there is dollars. We don't want dollars, so we are going to look for Kenya shillings here. And sometimes you may not find it, the currency you're trying to look for here. So it's good that you go to custom currency and try to look for the currency you want to apply. So for me, it's Kenyan shillings. So I'm only going to click there once and then click apply. So you can see the data has been transformed to the currency format. Very quickly, we're going over to the next topic, which is how to delete columns, rows or cells, and how to hide columns or rows. So sometimes you may want to delete columns or rows or even hide them. So we're going to this first table, sorry, the final table, and trying to look at the data that we want to first delete, if it's there, or if it's not, then we're going to look at how to hide. But I think it's very important, before looking at how to hide, we look at how to insert first. So when you see this table here, you will notice that between admission number and student name, we have a column called photos. So this column basically will have the image of the student. And I've said we're using a padlock image because we can't use real images. So how we insert a column is, so you go over to the column that you want, or the adjacent column that you want to insert a new column, highlight it this way, then right click, and then you choose where you want to insert the column. So do you want to insert it to the left or to the right? So in our case, we are inserting to the left, and then of course we're going to name it photo, or let me check how it was named, photo. Yeah, so that's how we insert a column, as simple as that. And if you want to delete it, just highlight once more, right click, and click on delete. For me, I'm going to undo because I want to for the column to remain. Then if you check this table also, we have a new row that has been inserted on top of the current row that we have as the first one. So how we do that is, again, come and select the row that is adjacent to whatever row that you want to insert, then right click. Then you're going to choose whether you want to insert a row above or below. So in our case, it's above. And yeah, so that's how we do that. Then when you check this table again, and just deleting is the same concept. So that's, you select the row that you want to delete and right click, and you click on delete. Now I'm going to undo because I want it to remain this way. Then if you check, there are a couple of changes that have been done. So one is this name was moved up, and then before that we inserted 2 columns to the right of student name, so that we have three columns, so that we have first name, middle, and last name. So how we do that is just right click and choose insert right, right click again, choose insert right, right click again, and choose insert right. So you've inserted 3 columns. So you're going to name them. Again, it's first name, middle name, and last name. So I'm just going to copy paste. Remember, we talked about copying and pasting data. It's a faster way of doing things rather than typing. If you don't know what we're talking about, please go back to the first tutorial and watch. Then if you notice, now we have this name, student name, appearing on top, and it's covering all these. Basically it's representing all these columns. So how we do that is, we're going to move this. So there's a difference between copying and cutting. So cutting is moving data. Sorry, cutting is basically moving data from one place to another. Copying is just duplicating. So we're going to cut, then right click here and click on paste. Then if you notice, now we have one sort of a cell. So how we do that is we merge this information. Sorry, how we do that is we highlight all the cells that we want merged, and we click on the merge cells option up here. Now that's basically how we insert rows and columns. I'm going to look for any other one that we need to insert very quickly. So you can see also we have this column called student name course. It's a new column. So how we do that is go to course, right click, and click on insert to the right. Then of course you're going to copy this title, paste it there, and then you can see the information is sort of truncated. Yeah, so what do we do here? You right click and drag, remember, so that we make this information visible. Let me just correct this spelling error. Yes, I'm going to look for another one. So we have fees per term, paid fees, and then we have balance. So that's a new one. But look at this, very important to note also that we have extra columns accorded to us that we did not insert. So when you're creating when we're working with sheets, we normally have extra columns and rows that have been accorded to us even without us adding them. I'm going to show you how you can only remain with this. So basically it's deleting what you didn't need. So I'm going to copy the last column here. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Now how we delete the extra columns that we don't need? Again, please select. So you just select everything that you don't need. Remember, you're clicking on the column heads and dragging, then right clicking and you click delete like that. So we are remaining with what we need. Let me look if we have anything. Then we have term 3. Yeah. So you can see that I did this in the beginning, but I'm going to show you it's very simple how or very easy how I came up with this. So I'm going to unmerge. You can see. Then I'm going to return the text to the normal direction that we know. So how we come up with such representation is just highlighting what we need or the cells we need. We click on merge and then we change the text direction to whatever direction we need, like that. Yeah, then you can see that the last column is row 22. Sorry, the last row is row 22, so we don't need the rest of the rows, so we can just go easily here and delete the rest of the rows. So you can just highlight like maybe 200 of those, then delete, delete again, and delete. So you remain with what we want. And basically that's how we insert rows, insert columns, delete rows or delete columns. You may also want just to insert cells. So for example, I may have, let me show you something. So I may just want to insert like a cell between the first student and the second student. So how you do that is just right click, then you click insert cells, then it's going to ask you, so since you're inserting a cell, and remember how we defined a cell. If you don't know, please go to the first tutorial and check this out. A cell is an intersection of a column and a row. So basically if you're inserting a cell, it means we need to create space. So that's why it's asking, do we shift the cells that are currently there to the right, or do we shift them down, the cell that is currently there? So we're going to click shift down and see what happens. So it's going to create an additional cell, you can see. So we have and this happens maybe when we are transferring data and we miss something. So maybe we where we had placed Terry, there's supposed to be someone else that is doing coding. So that, and then we're going to now coordinate this information so that it's tallying. So that's the reason why we have you inserting cells at some point. If you want to delete, you can just delete. So you right click and click delete. Then you're going to choose that the cells are shifted up, and basically that's it. Over very quickly to the other topic, which is now how to format the text, because you can see the text is looking good from the final table. How to bold, italicize, underline, text wrapping, rotation, font size, and conditional formatting. So yeah, so basically we're going to start with how to bold. So you can see that already we have the information appearing in bold, but we can just recap on how we're supposed to do this. So let's say I unbold this information and you want to bold it. So just remember, very important that you should always select first, then click on bold. If you want to italicize, same thing, you must select what you want. So I'm going to select this and unitalicize, then go back and italicize basically. So and you can see from this table that we have the text italicized. Underline, same concept, you have to select. So I'm going first to remove the underlining. Then you go to, of course, you're going to go to format, then text, then choose underline. And then also something else we're going to discuss. You can see that in this table we have the information appearing in a different font. So, and this font is called Montserrat. So we want to change the current font that we have, all of it to that type of font. So we're going to select everything and then go back here to the toolbar and click like that. Then also just confirm that the font size is okay. So font size is 10, but it's varying. I can see 9 here, 10. Yeah, so the names are appearing font 9, and everything else is in font 10. So we can just put everything else in font 10, then come back to the names and put them in font 9. And I see that we already did this. Then we're also going to look at text wrapping, text rotation, font size. We've done already font size and conditional formatting. So I think we did text wrapping and rotation in the other tutorial. So I'm going to skip and go to conditional formatting. So I'm going to, if I highlight this data here, and I go to format and conditional formatting, you'll see there's a rule here. But basically, before I show you this, let me explain what this means. So basically, you may want to manipulate data in a data set such that you only highlight data if it's meeting a certain criteria. So maybe you're looking for students that have paid less than 10,000, so that you can see what actions you want to do. So basically, I'm going to remove this formatting, then we can do it together. That's how you clear formatting. So we want in this data set to see very quickly just a highlighting of how many students are have paid less than 10,000. So we're going to select it. Remember, key every time you have to select, then format, conditional formatting. Then we're going to, I see the formatting was still there, so I've removed it. We're going to set a rule. So by default, it's giving a highlighting, and the condition that is there is if cell is not empty, but we don't want this, so we're going to change it to less than. So this is why we're defining it. Then the value is 10,000. And then we're going to define what color we want the highlighting to be. Sorry, this is font, so I want the highlighting, not the font. Then you're going to click on done, and basically that's how you format data on sheets. So if it's bolding and everything, that's how we do it. And then sorry, I just realized I was speaking while the screen was not on, so I'm going to repeat. Very sorry for this. So we're talking about formatting, and we're looking at formatting data. So I'm going to repeat again. So we've looked at bold, italicizing, underlining, and conditional formatting. So basically how you bold is you make sure that you have to select the data and then click on bold. If it's underlining, you have to select the data first. So I'm first removing so that I show you, and then go to format, conditional, text, and then you choose the kind of formatting you want. Same as italicizing, you have to select first, then choose the kind of formatting you want. Then I was talking about conditional formatting, so highlighting or giving visibility based on a condition. So here we see that these stores have been highlighted in red, and the reason why they've been highlighted in red is because the condition that we put here is any value that is less than 10,000 should be highlighted, because we want to see how many students have not paid the fee that we want, or the threshold. So I'm going to remove it first, then we're going to do it together. So let's say in this data set, paid fees, we want to look at the students that have paid less than 10,000. So we know the actions we can take. So we go to format, conditional formatting, and put the rule. So first, the rule is the text, sorry, the value has to be less than 10,000. Sorry, and then we, if it's less than 10,000, we choose the highlighting that we want to put there. So you can see if the text is less than, if the value is less than 10,000, then we have the figures being highlighted. And basically that's how we format data. I think we already had covered the formatting from the other tutorial. Over to the next topic very quickly. We're going to look at how to insert sheets, rows, columns, charts, pivot tables, and images. So we've already done how to insert rows and columns. I'm going to cover how to insert sheets, how to insert charts, pivot tables, and images. Now, when you look at this final table that you have, let me go very quickly to the practicals. So this final table that we have here has the chart, which you're going to see very shortly, and then also has the images, and then we have the worksheets. So how do we insert these worksheets? So I'm going to start with the images. So how do we insert images? And as I've said, we want basically to have the image of the student or the photo of the student, but since this is a tutorial, we can't have real images because of the copyright issues. We're going to use a placeholder image, but basically you'll understand the process of inserting an image. So basically you make sure that the cell, the pointer is on the active cell. If you don't know what is an active cell, please go back in the first tutorial and there's a clear definition on what that is. Then you click on insert image, then you're going to choose. So there's an option, so you can choose to insert image over cell, so it's going to occupy more than the active cell, or image in cell, so it won't go past the cell. So when you choose image in cell, you're going to see other options. There's upload, camera, if you have a camera and you want to take, then URL, photos, Google Drive, and Google image search. So we're going to use the first option, which is upload, and we're going to drag and drop the image which I already had downloaded, the image of a padlock. If you can just search online for an image of a padlock and download. Then after you do that, yeah, that's the process. You can insert as many times as you want. Now, because this we're using the same photos, I'm going just to copy. How you do that is just go to this, go to the bottom right of the cell, and when the cursor changes to this cross, click and drag so that we have the images. And then when you see, if you see these images, they've been centered. So just basically highlight, go to the formatting bar, and then align center. Then also adjust the column width so that we have the right representation here, also here. Then if you look from this other table, we also have the student name appearing centered. So you just have to highlight and center it that way. Yeah, then let's look at how now to insert sheets. So how do we insert a sheet? We covered partly this in the first tutorial, but I'm going to explain again. So sheets form the spreadsheet. So you can have, for example, this final document has a lot of has 3 sheets. The one we are working on has only 1. So how do we insert more sheets? Is you go down here and you click on add sheet. So basically as simple as that. So you just click here and add sheet. When you add sheet, it's going to have, as we said, it's going to give you an option of a lot of columns and also rows, and you can start working with that. How you delete a sheet is you go down here and click on delete. But before that, how you rename a sheet is just double clicking where it's written the default name and name it to whatever you want. So it can be student bank details or whatever name you want to call it. So basically that's how we insert a sheet and how we delete it. So we're going to look at how we insert a chart. So I told you initially that this chart we created it out of the table, the first table that we had, and basically it's just showing the student information and the fees they paid so far. So how you do that is you go to the student name, there highlight, sorry, I'm using the wrong table. So you go to this table that has the student name and it has the paid fees. So you make sure that you click on you press Control while you're choosing column K. If you don't do that, then it's going to, when you highlight column D and try to highlight column K without pressing on Control, it's going to unhighlight column D. So make sure you've highlighted column D, highlight column K, and come to Insert. Click and click on Insert Chart. Now, depending on how fast your machine is, it should take like maybe seconds. Now look at this, it's inserted the sheet on top of my work, which is not very pleasing. So how can we make it go to a separate sheet? So how we do that is click here and you choose move to on sheet. Then it's going to create a sheet you can see down here. So it's going to move away from our work. It's going to create it here. But look at our chart that we have here and the one that we have here, different. So how do we make it appear the same? Like, how do we make it more similar to the one that we have here? So first we're going to start with the data labels. So you can see I have to point on a column to be able to see how much the student has paid, but I can make it more visible by just putting some labels. So how we do that is double click, sorry, and then there's this chart editor that will come up, or you can just go up here and click edit chart. Now you're going to have some options here, the setup and then customize. So let's start with customize. So when you choose customize, you can have the data labels like that. And yeah, so basically that's how we put the data labels. You can see the chart is starting to look like what we have here. And then there's the sorry, the is it? Just give me a sec. Yeah, then we have the title of this chart. So you can have it as paid fees versus student name, or name it to whatever title you want. Of course, there's the options on putting the font size and everything here. And also here, when we're talking about these columns, just to call them that way, there's an option of changing the name, sorry, the color. You can have it to whatever color that you want, you see, so you can play around with the colors there. I'm going to return it to what we have here. Then again, when you're doing charts, there's a lot of options. We have pie charts, but we can cover that in later tutorials. So right now we are going to work with this chart, which is a column chart, but you can always explore if you have time and look at the others. So basically that's how we insert a chart. You can see we have the series here, student name, paid fees. So it's basically on the x-axis we have the student name and the paid fees is on the y-axis. Then there's options. You can download the chart in PNG, PDF, or SVG. You can delete chart, you can publish, you can edit chart, or you can copy chart. Then from this table here, we also have the this sheet that has the chart has been labeled payment details. So how we do that, again, just double click and choose payment details like that. Yeah, over very quickly to very quickly to how now we insert or how we come up with pivot tables. So we've looked at charts, we looked at sheets, rows, columns. Now pivot table, also images, we've looked at it. So basically, what are pivot tables? Let me check if we have this on this table. If you don't have, don't worry, we're going to look at it either way. So we don't have it here, but I'm going to show you what a pivot table is or what it does. So basically, you imagine you're dealing with a very long list of 1000 students, and you want to know how many students are doing coding, or how many students are doing communication, or how many students are doing writing. Or if you look at this data, you may want to know like how many students that are we want to know how much you're making from students who are doing coding if it's an institution working with 1000 students. So you want to know how many first they are and how much are you making out of that course. So basically that pivot table will be your solution here. And how you create a pivot table, remember, keyword selecting. So you select the data set that you want to include in this pivot table. So for example, we want to use this option, a simple one. So we want to count how many students that are doing coding. Imagine right now it may seem easy, you may count just by manually, but imagine if it's 1000 students. So we're going to start with the simplest, which is counting the number of students doing coding. So you're going to select the column you want to involve here. Then you're going to click on insert, then pivot table. Again, so it's going to ask you, do you want to insert the pivot table in this sheet or on a new sheet or an existing sheet? So for starters, please use new sheet, because existing sheet, you can see it's you may never know where to put it and it may confuse you. So use a new sheet and click on create. So when you click on create, it's going to give you the pivot table one, and you can see it's basically blank. So it's you who has to build it. It's not that it's going to do everything for you. It's just going to create the shell for you. So you have to build it. Now you have rows and values. So a row is like basically what we are looking at. Then the values is what we want to count or what you want to manipulate. So in this case, we are looking at column H, which has the courses. So when you click on here, there's the pivot table editor that comes up. You can see you can always toggle. So if you click, it comes and you can remove it. So if you click and it comes, you have to check what you want to add. Do you want to add a row? You want to add columns, values, or features? We're going to cover all that. So when you click on add a row, it's going to add the different values that it's going, sorry, not values, different dimensions that it's going to pick. For example, in column H, we have coding, communication. Weirdly, we have course, but I'm going to show you how to remove it. We have SEM and writing. So apart from course, the rest are topics. So we want to start by filtering out the course, which is the title of that column. So basically you come to the filters and you filter column H and you remove course. So you see course does not appear. Now the next thing we want to add is values. So remember that we want to check first how many students we have per subject. So we are going to add the value as the column still, and it's going now to count. So how many times the word coding is appearing. So you can see then coding we have 4, communication 4. So the list we have is SEM, which is being done by one student, the course. You can see it's giving me a 0 because it's counting the whole column H. So we can put another filter. What's this? No fields left to add. Yeah, because so we can, because we had put a filter of H, but you can edit it also and put it should not be empty, so we can add that filter so that it doesn't remove it doesn't give us zeros. So if it doesn't count even these columns, because you see it's counting even the columns that don't have anything. That's why we're removing that. And then now remember, this is the simplest one where we're only looking at how many students per subject. So basically we have a total of 13 students, and we have the least subject being done as SEM, and most of the students are doing either coding, communication, SEM, writing. Yeah, basically. So that's the first pivot table. The other option too. So we may want to know like how many, like how much each course is bringing. Like we may want to know like if it's coding, how many students like what's the paid fee for coding or communication and stuff like that. So basically we're going to insert another pivot table. So but this time we are looking at a bigger data set, so from column H up to column K where we have the paid fees. Then we're going to click on insert, then pivot table, new sheet. Of course it's going to be called pivot table 2. And here the first so we are looking at the column, sorry, the course and the paid fee. So we're going to insert column H again, and I'm going to apply a filter on column H to remove the course, which is the title. And then now under the values we're going to look at column K, I believe, which is the paid fees. Yeah, sorry. So but you see it's, so when you choose column K, it's still going to count. When you choose count A, it's just counting basically how many entries we have per cell, sorry, per column. So it's just going to give you this, basically it's the same results, but you have to edit the summary now. So this is where you come here, and instead of counting we want to sum. Please notice the difference. So instead of counting we are summing, so that we get per subject how much the students are paying. Then remember also we can put the filter so that it doesn't bring the empty cells. So you can see it's very clear to us now that the topic, the subject that has been paid the most is the coding subject. So remember, pivot tables are for easy analysis. They can help you very much. So basically that's just the simplest pivot tables we've created. If you want more knowledge on this, please you can always remember to subscribe, one, to get notice when we are uploading new videos, and number two, you can always email or leave the comments on the on YouTube. And basically that's how we insert sheets, rows, column, charts, pivot tables, and images. I'm going to move on very quickly to this second last topic, I believe, where we're looking at now the functions or the formulas. So we're going to look at Vlookup, COUNTIF, split, concatenate, SUMIF, sum, count, COUNTA, average, etc. Now remember that each function has a specific duty it's doing. I'm going to take you back to this table, the one that we've already created. Now, we can start with the basic, simplest. So balance. So basically we have fees per term and paid fees. So we want the difference. to know how much the students have remaining as balance, so that we can we can have it as an accounting for accounting records. Now, how we do that is we subtract um, the paid fees from the paid fees from the fees that were supposed to be paid. So how we do that, when you come to this table, we're going to use a formula. Please note that a formula is very different from a function. A formula is just what you can interpret very easily from your arithmetic background or mathematical background. So when you look at these cells, like what can you put as a formula? If you imagine, if you're writing down, what will you use as a formula? So for example, if I want to subtract 19,000 from 25,000, it's going to be equals. So you put the sign, remember. Then you're going to put 25,000. Remember, we should not look at it as actually a figure. Look at it as a cell. Remember, we're working with cells. So when you put column J3, which holds 25,000, then minus, you see there's the autocomplete. We talked about this in the first tutorial. It's autocomplete, and also there's another function. I'm trying to remember the name. I've just forgotten. That basically it notices what you want to do and basically helps you when it comes to formulas. So basically, we want to subtract 19,000 from 25,000, and basically it's J minus K, and you can see the balance here is 6,000 for Maureen, biologist. Now, you could type the same formula over and over. Not the same formula, actually. This the similar formulas over and over, but there's an easy option of coming down here and clicking and dragging, basically. And it's going to, what it's going to do is going to copy the formula but change the cells. So notice something here. We have J3 minus K3. When you come down here, we have J4 minus K4. So basically it's just copying the formula, but the values, the cells are changing. Basically that's how we do a minus formula, but there's faster way we can do with functions. So that's one. Then when you check on this table, we have total. So, and we can put it down here. I think it's here, down here. So total, and the color is I think blue, and it's centered, center aligned, and it's also bold. Now we want to get the total fees that were supposed to be paid, the paid fees, and the balance, so total. So what we do is come down here and put equals sum. So we're talking about the sum. So sum basically returns the total of values. So I'll look very carefully. We are summing these values that are from J3 to J15 for the fees per term. So when you click on equal sum, you can see that the computer is already suggesting some of the functions you can use. But since this is a start, I want you to know to remember, not cram. So we're going to do it manually. So sum, then we put the brackets, and then you see it's telling you to put the value. So, but we don't want to put it manually, so we are going to choose a range instead. So we're starting with J3, and then all the way to J15. Then we're closing the brackets and pressing enter. So you can see it's returning the total, which is 325,000. You could do it manually for these two, typing again, but remember, you can just easily autofill. That's the word I was looking for. So you can autofill the formula to the other cells. So basically you come down here and drag. So check what it does. It does not give you the same value because it's changing the cells or the range. So here we're talking about J3 to J15. here we have K3 to K15, and it's going like that. So it's changing L3 to L15, and it's basically giving us a total. Yeah, then we go back here and you can see it's bold. So remember, you have to select. So just select and click on bold like that. Then you can see it's now bigger than the column. So just remember to adjust the columns. As easy as that. Yeah. Then so down here we have the summary, and the summary, basically we've used functions there to give us the summary. So for example, you want to know how many students to be sent home, and remember the criteria here, we are sending students home based on the balance they have, or if you want to look at it this way, based on how much they've paid. So remember, in when we're talking about these students here, they've paid less than 10,000. So we want, remember, imagine it's a big data set that maybe a thousand students, and you want quickly to just do an analysis and know how many you're supposed to send home. So let's go to column 18, sorry, row 18, sorry, and I'm just going to copy. So let's copy this first, column 17. I'm going to paste it here. Yeah, so we have, and I'm going to adjust the row. So we have students to be sent home. Remember, the criteria is we are looking at students that have paid less than 10,000. Now, when you're looking at this, we can use two functions. So we can use COUNTIF, and remember, COUNTIF is giving you're counting but giving a condition. So let's use COUNTIF as the first one, or yeah, let's use COUNTIF in column C18, sorry. So we want to count how many students have paid less than 10,000. So you come to the column that you want to return results to, double click, then you're going to start building your function. So COUNTIF, and the computer will guide you sometimes. So you see it's telling me to put the range. So the range that you want to count is this. Yeah, so you can either select the whole column, or you can just select the specific range. So like that, and then, so that's the first bit. Then the criteria. So what's the criteria we're using? What are we trying to achieve here? So we want to send home students that have paid less than 10,000. So we're going to put the opening speech marks, then less than 10,000, and then we close our brackets and press enter. So you can see it's returning 6, meaning that the students that have paid less than 10,000 are 6, and those are the ones that we need to send home. So that's one way we can count the number of students to send home, or we can use another formula which relies on named ranges. So this formula is called COUNTA. So for example, we already did conditional formatting and realized that we can highlight certain data that is based on a set of instructions. So for example, here we already know that these are the students we need to send home. So we've already highlighted them, and we want to group them or name them in such a way we can call out them when we're creating functions. So we just highlight, go to data, named ranges, and you can just put it as to be sent home. Now when you want to call out on that, you just equals count a, then now you call it out. So to be sent home. So this is a range that you've already classified, and you can call it out as many times you want. And you close the bracket and press enter. So it's going to return the same results. The other one you're going to look at is coding paid fees. So we can do this in two ways, as you've already seen. We can do this through a pivot table, or we can do it using a formula. Now, and that formula is SUMIF. Remember, SUMIF is very different from count. So sum can give a total of values. Counting is just counting like how many entries we have. So in this case, we want to count how many students have paid are doing coding and have paid fees. And sorry, we want to count the total fees paid by students that are doing coding. Now, so let's go back to our table. So we come to this where we want to return the results. You press on equals, then SUMIF. The computer will direct you, so don't worry. So the first range is the range that is going to be like the identifier. So here, the range that is identifier is the courses. So you have to select it. Then what is the criteria? So the criteria you're going to highlight, sorry, to put it in bracket, it's coding. So out of this range, the first range, what is the criteria? Then now the sum range. So what is the range that we want to sum? Sorry for using the same words. So we're going to select the range, which is this. And then closing the brackets and pressing enter. So you can see it's returning the same value that we had here. I'm going to highlight. So you see it's returning the same value that we had on the pivot table. So it's correct. So it's returning that the coding paid fees is 44,000 Kenyan shillings. Then you can also edit and make it in currency format. Remember how we did that. Then we may want to also look at the total number of students. So basically, how many students do you want? You just want to count your students. So here we're using count, basically, and as I've said, it returns the entries in as a range. So basically, if you want to get this the total number of students, you're going to count column D. So basically, you put the formula, sorry, the function count, then you specify the range. So the range is column D. Sorry, is you can select specifically, please, when counting, because if you imagine if you have a data in column D2 and you start counting from there, it's going to give you wrong results. So you just select the specific range, close the brackets, and click enter. Sorry. Sorry, the reason why it's total number of students, it's giving me this is when you're using count, you are not supposed to use text. That's what I forgot to tell you. When you're using text, you use count A. If you're using numbers, you can use count. So for example, for this, I'll just have to edit the formula to have count A like that, and it's going to return 13. So if you want to count using this, the paid fees as an entry to consider, you can change the range and then change the formula. So I'm going to change that and now use numbers. So just using the entries of the paid fees, we'll know how many students we have. And it's supposed to give me the same results, which is 13. So that's how we can count. And then average paid fees. So you want to know if it's in an institution, is this fee too high? So you're doing analysis. Remember, the functions or formulas are supposed to help you build or come up with decisions. So if you're doing an analysis to see this is the set fee, maybe 25,000 per term, but what's the average a student is paying? One student, how much are they paying? So basically that we use a formula called average. And remember, you don't have to put the formula where this data set is. You can put it anywhere you want. So this is where we want to return our results. So equals average. And you can see we have a lot of formula functions. So take your time and go through them when you're trying to look at Google Sheets. If you want training on any other one other than the ones mentioned, please let me know. So when you go to average, then you're going to select the link, the range, and you can see that the average fee a student is able to pay in this school is 10,192.31 Kenya shillings. Yeah, and I believe I've covered most of the formulas. Let's go to the remaining ones. So remember, when you're starting this tutorial, I talked about sorry, just 1 minute. I talked about how we can split information. For example, the student names. You can see that we may want to split the information we have based on a delimiter. So how do we do that? We use a split function. So equal split. And remember, see where we're typing this information. So split, then select the cell. Now this is where we put the delimiter, sorry, which is a space. So we're going to press the space bar once. Then you're going to close your argument, and you can see that it's now splitting your text. Then remember, you don't have to type the formula over and over, so you can just drag it this way. And basically this is what we have here. So you can see that the names have been splitted. The other one we have is concatenate, basically, and what it does is it combines data. So let's say we want to combine the student name and the course, as we've seen in this table. So what do we do? What do we do in this case? So use the function called concatenate. So you can just equals, then concatenate. The computer is going to guide you, but it's very important that you get this. So the first thing that you want to put is a string. So a string is a type of data in Google Sheets. So you can have strings, numbers, and stuff like that. So when you put the string, the next thing you're going to do is choose how this data is going to be combined. So how it's going to be combined is we want to put a comma in between the two data sets, or values if you want to call them. Then we choose the other one. So we want to combine the student name and the course. So the first string is student name and the second one is the course. Then you remember to close your argument and click on enter. So you see it's combining these two strings into one cell. Then you can autofill the formula this way. As you can see from this other table, the information or the text is in black, so you can just edit. So select, go to formatting bar and choose the color. Then also you can remove the underlining. If you're using Windows, it's just Control U. Then remember to adjust the column width. Yeah, and so we've covered all of the functions, only remaining with Vlookup. So very quickly, I'm going to explain what Vlookup is. So what is Vlookup? You have to understand this point. So Vlookup is a function that helps us search for information in a separate table and return value to the current table. So I'm going to use this example here and explain to you. So as I was saying, so you have this table called student information that has everything here, almost all of it. Then we have this table that only has, at the start it didn't have the student name, it only had the admission number and the city. So we are supposed to look for the student name. Imagine you have 1,000 or 10,000 students on a database somewhere, this table here. So someone just gives you an admission number and city and tells you to help them find a student name. So you don't have to go manually and try to look for it. You use Vlookup because it can return a value on a separate table as long as we have the common unique identifier. In this case, it's the admission number. So it's available here and also in this other table. So very quickly, we're going to insert a sheet. Then we're going to copy. So as I've said, imagine someone gives you only this information, admission number and city. So it's up to you to find the student name. So don't worry, this is what we're covering. And remember to rename this sheet to residence. Yeah. So I'm going to rename it to residence. Then I'm going to type student name, or you can just copy paste. Copy pasting is an addiction. If you get used to it, you may never want to type anything. So I'm going to copy, then paste. I don't know why it's not pasting. I know. Let me see. Copy. Okay, so I'm just going to type it anyway. Then to format it, give it a color and bold. Now, this is the important part. Remember, we're trying to get this information, student name, from this table and put it here. And it may look easy because this is a small data set. Imagine big data sets. So we want to come to this cell and put our function. So equals Vlookup. So remember, it's going to help you, but you have to understand, not cram, but understand. So our unique identifier is the admission number, so we're going to use that. Then where are we getting the range? Where are we getting this information from? So come back here and put it and select the range. So remember, we're getting this information in this table, and we have to select the range on this table. Now the range has to start with the admission the admission number in this case, but basically it has to start, if you're working on any other table, the range has to start, the range which you're selecting has to start with the unique identifier. So if you select maybe course and admission number was the following column, that won't work. So in this case, it's well arranged, so we're going to select this as our range. So we're going to start with the admission number, then up to the student name. So we're interested with the admission number up to the student name. This is the information that you want as the range. And then so out of this range, which is the column that we are returning, which is the column we're interested in. So we're interested in column 3. So admission number, photo, we are going to skip it. We're interested in column 3 information. Then there are two options. So there's normally 1 or 2, or false or true. So when you choose true, Vlookup is going to look for information that is almost as the one you're requesting for. When you choose false, it's going to return the exact it's going to return what you want. So stick to false for starters, and then click on enter. So you can see so what the computer has done is it's used your unique identifier, then gone to this other table here and found try to link that unique identifier to a corresponding to value in column D. So that's what it done. What it has done, and you can see it's returned for 2147 here. This guy, the name is Louis denominator, and you can just autofill for the rest of the students, as easy as that. Then you press enter. So that's how we VLOOKUP. Again, this is very simple, very simple VLOOKUP. We have you can do it for very complex situations. So, but this is just for starters. Remember to also adjust the column so that you have good visibility. Yeah, and basically that's it. We've basically at the end of this tutorial, you can see our table almost looks like the one we have here. Just remember one final thing. Look at this table. When you're trying to move to the right, you don't lose the admission number and the term. But look at our table. When we move, we are losing this information, and this is where freezing now comes in. You're working with a big or a very wide table, and you want to see some important information like this heading here. So when you're scrolling down in the table we've created, we are losing the admission number photo. Basically, you're losing the headers, but here in this table you can see it's remaining. So that's where freezing is coming in, and how we do that is I'm going to start with the rows. So just select, then view, then you're going to go to freeze, then you're going to choose up to which row you want to freeze. So I'm going to freeze up to row 1 in this tutorial, and you can see now when we're scrolling, sorry, not row 1, let me undo, we're going to freeze up to row 2, up to 2 rows, yeah. So you can see when I now scroll down, I don't lose the heading. Now what about the column? So we want to freeze up to column B. So how we do that is select column B, then view, freeze up to column B. Now when I'm trying to move, you can see I don't lose the important information. I don't lose the summary, and also don't lose the admission number. So it's very easy for me to know, oh, 2140 is marine biologist doing SEM, paid 25,000, sorry, fees per term 25,000, paid 19,000, a balance of 6,000. Basically that's how we freeze. And then also going back to formatting, you can see our table nicely on the summary. In the summary section does not have the rulers, and so to speak. So how do you do that? You select what you want to be the range you want to be applied on this kind of formatting. Then you go to borders, and you choose the color that is similar to the background, and you choose apply. So basically it takes out the boring borders, I'd say, and you can return the bottom one. Let me see, this one. So basically that's it. And also yeah, you can see that this information is italicized, so it's the same. Now very quickly over to the next topic, which is spelling checker and autocomplete. Now so you may want to continue typing, maybe if you're typing, and sometimes the computer is very helpful. It already has stored this in the database, and it's going to try to suggest some information for you. So let's say we want to type in column 16. We want to start type a student name by the name of John, and the course they're doing is writing. So notice when I'm trying to type writing, the computer is automatically going to try to complete for me. And if you notice it's the correct thing, you can just press enter and it's going to write it. So you don't have to do the manual work. And basically that's autocomplete. The other one is spelling checker. So basically it does grammatical and spelling checks, error checks, just to see if your work is okay. And how you do that is go to tools, spelling, then you do spelling check. So you can see it's loading. For example, it's telling me like average, change average. I don't know where I put average. You can see. So you can see in column in row 21, instead of doing average, I did average. So it's going to suggest, so change average to average, which is correct. So I'm going to click on change. It's still loading, so it hasn't found any other issue with my work. So I'm going to click on close. So basically that forms our basic foundation on Google Sheets. I believe if you follow this tutorial from the first if you follow this channel from the first video we had about Google Sheets, second and third, you're going to be very well equipped. Yeah, so basically we're done with Google Sheets. Our next topic will be on Google Docs. We're going to look at how to work with Google Docs, what we use them for, and it's going to be a step-by-step guide as we've done this one. So remember, you can always email at the email that is showing on your screen. So that is chrislakairas@gmail.com to request for any trainings you want. As well, please remember to subscribe and turn on notification bell so that when we have new videos, you can be the first to be notified. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and please let's meet on the other one. And thank you for subscribing so far to Let's Learn. Bye.